FAFSA.
FAFSA. Is that what they say? FAFSA?
FAFSA. FAFSA.
FAFSA?
FAFSA.
Okay. We'll go with FAFSA, Josh. Hello and welcome. My name is Garth Sharif.
I'm Josh Sager.
And you're listening to The Fraud Complex, a podcast where we unpack wild true crime fraud stories. Josh, to start us out, when you hear the name Charlie, what comes to mind? What famous Charlies come to mind?
Charlie's Angels, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Those are my two main references.
Yeah.
For Charlies.
Chocolate and women. I like it.
The basics.
The basics. I had a few more. I had Charlie Brown.
Oh, yeah.
Charlie Chaplin.
Good
And
one.
Charlie Kaufman. Because,
yeah.
You like Kaufman, right?
Love him. Yeah.
Adaptation. So, generally, though, what's the vibe around Charlie? The name Charlie. If you met a Charlie person or dog, sometimes dogs are named Charlie, what would you feel when they introduce themselves as Charlie?
There's a cartoonish quality. Maybe it's just the Peanuts, Charlie Brown, but also Charlie Chaplin. And yeah, I don't know. There's something playful. You're not a Chuck. You're not a Charles. You're Charlie.
You're Charlie. And I like that. Playful. Disarmy, maybe. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to work with that name because that name is at the front and center of our case today, our fraud examination. I might shoehorn in a Charlie Brown comparison, even though it's going to get awkward, and I'm going to have to switch Lucy and Charlie around to make this work. But you know me, I like to fit in the thing. Now that we have Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, Charlie Brown, I got to fit this in. So I'm going to get personal, Josh. Talked about Charlie. What was the first loan you ever got? What was the first time you ever got into debt? What was it for?
Oh, college, one of those college credit cards. And it got way out of hand, like really fast. Within like 8 months, I was calling my parents, and they just made it go away. They were so nice. They didn't give me a hard time about it. I learned a lesson, but it was just like, I was like, like $1,800. Like I just didn't know what to do. It was just an idiotic thing to sign up
8 months. Okay, and so what did you need it for? You said a college credit card. Were you in college? Was it for spending in college?
Like they were selling them on campus. It was probably like 30%. Like it was crazy, right? And I don't even know if I needed it. I just got it, and I don't know what I used it for. Renting a car or something, maybe. I don't know.
So this is really interesting. You got a credit card because it was on campus. You don't remember what you used it for, maybe renting a car. And 8 months later, you called your parents and said, I'm in with the sharks. I need help. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I understand because the first time I was in debt was when I went to school. And in Canada, in Ontario, there's something called OSAP, Ontario Student Aid. And I needed that to go to school. And so a lot of times, the first time anyone experiences debt is if they go off to college or university, like both you and I. Josh, do you know what FAFSA is? FAFSA.
No.
FAFSA.
I like saying it. FAFSA.
FAFSA. Okay, so Josh, if you don't, I'm not saying this correctly because I have no idea how to say the acronym. There is a video that tries to help people say the acronym. Josh, I sent you a YouTube link. It's about a minute. You don't have to play the whole thing, but maybe play the first 30 or 40 seconds and let me know what you think. It's titled, How Do You Say FAFSA?
Okay. Watching now.
FAFSA. Wow. FAFSA. FAFSA. FAFSA.
FAFSA.
FAFSA.
FAFSA.
FAFSA.
FAFSA. I'm going with that. It's gonna be FAFSA.
FAFSA. And the way you pronounce this word is FAFSA.
That's a hard word to say.
I have no idea what it means.
FAFSA.
FAFSA. Is that what they say? FAFSA?
FAFSA. FAFSA.
FAFSA?
FAFSA.
Okay. We'll go with FAFSA, Josh.
That's a tricky one.
So FAFSA stands for the Free Application for Federal Student Aid. And this is what you would apply for if you needed federal aid to go to school. And I don't know if you ever applied for this. Josh, did you apply for this? FAFSA?
No, I wish I'd known about it. It could have been very helpful.
Okay. If you go into your file, I sent you the manual copy of the FAFSA form. And take a look at it. There's a PDF. And you can open it up and go through it and let me know what you think. Could you do this? Does it look easy? It's how many pages? 22 pages.
22. It's like using a pencil to like color in boxes.
Yeah. What's
Almost
your first
like
impression?
Like an SAT kind of brutal.
Brutal SAT, right? Like it
Wow.
feels like a tax return.
Yeah, it feels as daunting as a tax return.
Okay. Yeah. So this is FAFSA, and we're gonna set this up because this is going to get us into Charlie and Frank. There's a lot of names here that could also be dog names. Charlie and Frank. Also could be a nice TV series. Frank and Charlie, Charlie and Frank. So FAFSA.
Carefree couple.
I mean, carefree couple. Well, look at you.
Carefree couple.
Carefree couple. I like
Charlie
that. That's
and Frank.
Charlie and Frank. We're another sitcom pitch. Their second one. What about Josh for a change? That was the first one.
Why not Josh for a change?
Why not Josh for a change? I like that. It's important that it's why. So this is a lot. Like, you're right. Tiny little boxes. So this is the manual form. I went onto the website to try to actually go through the electronic form. And I signed up. This is studentaid.gov. And I have a social security number so I could sign up. And I couldn't actually get the password to work. Like, I couldn't get into the application, so I went on to Reddit. And there's a whole Reddit. Can't get past the password phase.
Whoa.
So I wasn't the only one. So what does this mean? This application, which a lot of young people need, students, to potentially get aid to go to a college, it's not easy, right? It's not meant to be hard by the federal government, but some of these things are bureaucratic and they're not always easy, a lot of detail. And so we're going to establish that. And it was interesting to go in that Reddit group, to be honest with you. I felt validated. I don't know if you've ever felt validated by Reddit when you're like,
I
is it
feel
just
so
me?
seen by Reddit groups, especially when I'm doing something like going to groups like this for like I had to take a mandatory training course and every slide took like 30 seconds to click through. And it was just so I felt very seen by going to this group and everybody was equally frustrated.
Yeah, so this is another tip. Go to Reddit to be seen. I think that's what we're saying.
Yeah.
If you feel like you're alone, go to Reddit. This may come back to haunt us, that particular recommendation. So I'm going to give you a particular school. Like, tuition for college is expensive, right? I'm going to give you a particular school, though. This is a school that had some famous graduates, including Sundar Pichai, which is the CEO of Google, Elon Musk, Donald Trump, Ivana Trump. I think all the Trumps. That's the Wharton School of Business. Have you heard of this school?
Yeah, I've heard Trump talk about it.
Yes. We do try to stay away from those things, but he is a graduate of the Wharton School of Business. He talks about it. It's out of Pennsylvania. It's quite famous. Dr. Adam Grant, who I follow, is a organizational psychologist and does a lot of good stuff. He graduated.
Oh, yeah.
You know him?
Yeah, I listened to his stuff.
Yeah, maybe I should have started it with him. But anyway, what do you think currently the tuition is in 2025, 2026 to go to the Wharton School of Business?
Whew. $80K a year.
Okay. That's not bad. So it's funny. I got some different information here, but it says $92,000 for the first 2 years, which is lower than $80K per year. But then the estimated cost of living is $132,000, and then there's an executive MBA program. It seems to be around $100,000 plus per year. Okay,
Yeah.
so you're around that ballpark. So
Yeah.
we'll get back to why that's important, and specifically the Wharton School of Business. So the Wharton School of Business, by the way, produces a lot of entrepreneurs and I guess presidents. Less said, the better. So Josh, you're an entrepreneur. You go into the Wharton School of Business. It's an entrepreneurial incubator, and you have a company. You say, I know what I'm going to do as an entrepreneur. Josh, give me a name for a company, just off the top of your head. If you wanted to start a company, you wanted to grab some excitement, what would you call it?
Let's see. The Fresh Maker. No, that's a real company.
Is it?
Or it's a slogan for a company. Let me think of a better one. Silly Putty. No. Why not Josh for a Change Incorporated?
I love it. Why not Josh for a Change Incorporated? So that I like it because it's got character. It's related to the owner and the founder. What about the name Frank for a company? How does that strike you? Frank. What does a company called Frank do?
It just makes you think somebody like just hadn't thought about it and they were in the line and they had to choose their name. They were like, "What's your company name?" And he misheard. He's like, "It's Frank." He thought he was.
So they're trying to say their name. It's like, is he asking for my name or the company? Frank. All right, Frank. And that's it.
Frank.
Okay. To be honest with you, that's a better story that I got for the name of the company at play here, called Frank.
Okay.
It was called Frank. I don't know why. I think hot dogs. I don't know. I don't think what the intent of this company was. So let me bring this company together and then we'll get into Charlie. Charlie's the founder of Frank. So we talked about FAFSA. FAFSA Frank. So here it is. 3 things together. You had an entrepreneurial school, Wharton. We established it's expensive to go to school with Wharton, but it's also an incubator tank for entrepreneurs. We have a problem, right? Entrepreneurs need a problem to solve. The problem here is FAFSA. You pointed it out. It's a long form. It's difficult. It's tricky. It looks nebulous. It's hard to get online for me. So you have an entrepreneur, you have a problem, you have a name, you have a solution. Have a company that fills out this form and guarantees success. That is Frank. Have you ever heard of this company called Frank?
No. It's a great idea, though.
Great idea. I think it's a great idea. And you'll have to go in the Wayback Machine to look at the website, though, because the company no longer exists, because the company was a fraud.
Yeah.
Or at least a big part of it was. So that's why I went to the Wayback Machine. I have some taglines for this company that specifically work with FAFSA. You pay to have your FAFSA form basically completed and almost guaranteed by Frank that there would be a success. You would get some funding from the government. Josh, today's a lot of improv. Put you on the spot. Give me some taglines for Frank helping students get FAFSA loans.
Get FAFSA faster.
Oh,
Let's
you should have
hop, skip, and a
Brilliant.
jump with FAFSA.
hop, skip, and the jump. Okay, I like the fast and FAFSA. That's a lot though.
FAFSA faster.
Faster. Oh, I love that one. Let's get frank about FAFSA.
Oh, that would tie the whole thing into the.
That would.
Maybe there's a good reason they named it Frank.
They did not do that. Here are the actual. I like yours. Here are the actual taglines. Pay for the school the smart way. That's one. Tuition is cheap. Aid is hard to get. Meet Frank. We're here to change that. What do you think?
I don't know if it makes it seem like I'm not gonna have to fill out this form.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna question their slogan. That sounds fine.
Yeah, it sounds good. I like yours better. Faster. But but it worked. And maybe they picked Frank because Frank, I guess, means like, disarming, like Charlie, maybe.
Yeah.
Meet Frank. We're here to help. If you met a Frank, would you think they're here to murder me or here to help me? What do you think?
It's got the same vibe as like a Burt's Bees. It's like, oh, Bert signed off on this. Frank can fill this out. Well, I'll let Frank do it.
That's a t-shirt. It's got the same vibes as Burt's Bees.
Yeah.
Yeah, Bert, Frank. Yeah, these names just make you feel like, okay, right. So here's another way they advertise themselves. Everything starts with FAFSA. Your application is always 100% accurate so that you get the maximum financial aid guaranteed. Okay, so we've established Frank was a real company. They had a service that people needed, given that we've seen this application. So enter Charlie, and this is the thing. You may not have seen this last name. I would have said Javice, but it's Javis, like peace. So Charlie Javis. Enter Charlie Javis. Charlie Javis. Josh, do you know anything about Charlie Javis?
Never heard of her.
Or him?
Or him?
That's interesting. Right to her.
I only, because you said you would have to switch from Charlie Brown to Lucy, so this is maybe, but I could be wrong.
You could be wrong. Let's open up image number 1. And this is just pick out Charlie from this group. Who is Charlie in image number 1? This is a young Charlie.
Oh.
And I'll tell you where this picture came from later on. Who is Charlie in this group?
Looks like maybe, I don't know. I think it's the girl in the raincoat.
Okay, why is that?
I don't know. Because I got Lucy stuck in my head.
Okay, because
there's no reason, really.
I tipped it off. You are correct. That's Charlie Javis.
Oh, yeah.
And Charlie Javis is at the center of that picture and the center of our story.
She looks about like 19.
Sure.
Like
in that picture, she's very young. She's under 20. You're right. She's 19.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay.
Very good. Who needs AI age identifiers when you have Josh? You're right on that.
I can ballpark it with the best of them.
That was amazing. All right. So I'm going to start off talking about Charlie Javis because she's at the center of this. And I'm going to give a shout out to Luisa Beltran, a finance reporter at Fortune, who wrote the article, The Unauthorized Profile of Charlie Javis, the millennial founder. And I don't want to give the rest of the headline away because it gives away parts of this. So we're going to start with rationalization. So Charlie Javis, she grew up in a posh Westchester suburb. You ever been to Westchester?
No.
No. It is posh. I flew out of that airport. It's a posh airport. I don't know. It's a nice part of New York. She attended the elite French American School of New York. Now, here's another acronym. FASNY? French American School of New York. I have no idea. Is that FASNY or FASNY? Do you know?
FASNY. I never heard of it, but
FASNY, FAFSA. Oh my gosh, so many F's. So, and by the way, this is our second female, maybe our third. So we had Rita Crunwell. Now we have Charlie Javis. But she was really intelligent. She came from what looks to be a fairly wealthy background, but entrepreneurship ran strongly in her family. Father was French, worked at a hedge fund at Goldman Sachs, and people describe her as young, being quiet, serious, but she was also gregarious. She had some qualities of leadership. And Howard Finkelstein, an attorney who advises startups, and this is when Charlie met Howard later on, at the Microfinance Club in 2009, spoke highly of her and said she wanted to change the world. What do you think of Charlie so far?
Yeah, a youthful, new into college, new into business, entrepreneurial spirit, maybe something to prove, a parent with a hedge fund bigwig, you want to make your mark. Yeah, that's motivation.
I like that. Getting into the parental issues right away. And to be honest with you, rationalization would be a hard one in this one. So that's actually, we're opening it up for supposition. So that's interesting that you're seeing that already. Maybe, that her family, her mother was successful as well, had different jobs. Here's a tie-in to Rita Crunwell. If you ever want to listen to that episode, that's a great episode. She also rode horses. She liked horses.
Okay. Yeah.
Apparently female fraudsters love horses. So that's a sign on a checklist.
You see the world from horseback. There's a cavalier attitude. Okay, I have a fun fact. Cavalier, the origin of that word is from those guys in the Middle Ages who rode horses, and they looked down upon you. They looked down upon the peasants. They had a cavalier attitude. So there's something about horseback riding and maybe a certain worldview that you are higher than others. So therefore, you can call the shots.
You are on your game today, Josh. You're tying in all kinds of... I think it started off with FAFSA faster. I knew you. FAFSA faster. And now drop it in the etymology of... Is that etymology? I'm trying to remember from the spelling competition.
Is that... That's either insects or words. I can't remember. Entomology, is that insects?
You're coming to this podcast to learn about fraud stories, not about English words or other... Well, I did actually, to be honest with you. I learned about cavalier, and that's interesting. So we can make another association. Women who are horseback riders are more likely to commit fraud. I didn't learn that at the ACFE when I took my fraud examination. But I'm just joking. We're going to lose all our female audience. Men
It's,
are, by the way, statistically, men are more likely to commit fraud. It's clear and obvious. We are the worst.
And accountants.
Men accountants.
Only because they have the opportunity, not
Only
because
they
they're.
have the opportunity. You had to bring that up, huh? That's interesting. That seems to come up every episode. So in high school, she's entrepreneurial. She's thinking ideas, businesses. She starts up a company at FAFSA that Javis developed. FAFSA at the French American School of New York, and it's called Power Up. Power Up.
Power Up.
What is Power Up, Josh? What do you think
Like-
that company did?
It's a play on cover up. Power Up? I
Power
have
Up.
no idea. That is so
Yeah.
weird.
I had to think about it. I wanted to play around in my mind. I also thought cover up, what does that mean? But pover, if you add a T and Y, is poverty. So Power Up was this business because she went to the Philippines when she was young and she saw what's called microfinance opportunities for those in developed countries that need to get financing,
Yeah.
don't have the credit to get actual loans. They have these microfinancing places so that women especially can start a business. It's really good cause. And she starts up Power Up as a way to get funding to help microfinance in other countries. And so socially minded, have students connect and invest in microfinance because ultimately you're investing in these smaller businesses around the world and you're going to, just like a venture capitalist, you could get a return on investment in one of these hits. So this is her first sort of entrepreneurial idea, and she tries to take it to a certain level. She actually meets a lot of people, including some other things that I'll tell you in a moment. What do you think of that? Power Up.
No, I
as an
think
idea.
microfinance stuff is great. Like, I get it, Power Up, yeah. I don't know about the name, but
the only thing
it
about
sounds
it
too much
does
like
seem-
Cover Up. I feel like it's like
does.
there's a foreshadowing at work here.
I never thought about that, but now it does seem like Cover Up, and that actually is right on the nose. It's foreshadowing. And the only other thing about it did seem a bit like Power Up. It just felt like, I don't know, there's something about it that didn't feel like necessarily like we're doing something philanthropic, more like Charlie Javis's naming, Power Up, Frank, we can quibble here. Her fraud game, on point. Definitely very good. So she remember that school that I mentioned before? What was that school? That
Fastney?
Well, there's FAFSA, and there's another school that we mentioned with Adam Grant who went.
Wharton School of Business.
Wharton School of Business. So why did I bring that up? Because she goes to Wharton.
Okay.
In 2010, she goes to Wharton. Now, you can imagine Wharton's expensive, right? So we'll get into that. And she goes into entrepreneurial clubs, and she lands, this could be a highly political episode, but we will not deal it further into these names. So she has Power Up with her when she goes to the Wharton School of Business, and she's in the entrepreneurial club. She's a very good salesperson, and she's getting a lot of attention, and she lands a spot in the finals of the Thiel Fellowship, a 2-year program for all the greatest people, good human beings, a 2-year program for entrepreneurs younger than 20 years of age. So, she's doing all right. And so in April 2012, Javis and 50 other finalists were flown to San Francisco to interview and compete for the prize, and it was featured on 20 Under 20 in CNBC. Remember that picture you looked at, image 1? Mm-hmm. That was from that CNBC special.
That's the team.
Those are all, I guess they're all competing against each other.
Oh,
I don't
I
know
see.
if she won.
They're
Yeah,
individual.
she's one of.
Yeah. Got it.
Yeah, I don't know if she actually won. So this brings us to the end of poverty? Power Up. The end of poverty. What am I saying?
Power Up.
Power Up, okay? Because, well, actually, before we get into, we'll talk about it. Power Up doesn't really go anywhere, right? It kind of just dissipates. But what Power Up did is that it showed her that she was capable, intelligent, ambitious, could talk, really galvanized people around her. She actually met a lot of people in the venture capital side of things, and she was looking for that next idea. And that next idea was Frank. Josh, what do you think? If she did do interviews about this, but why do you think she started Frank?
I guess she was looking for something maybe that was just going to be more tangible. I think microloans, the profit is maybe fairly small. Maybe it wasn't big in scope enough. But, if she's going to Wharton, she's probably knows the tuition, knows the challenges, probably knows people who needed to qualify for student aid. And she's like, oh, I'll help you with that application. Or, you know what I mean? Like maybe she had some personal experience and was like, this is a problem that needs solving. I'm going to solve it and make 5% off every loan. Like it just seems like she was in that world.
Yeah, I'm going to actually send you a quote and you can read it. There's actually 2 quotes here. There's one from the Daily Pennsylvanian when she was at Wharton, and then another from the podcast. So if you get it, I'll give you a moment to see if you get it in your inbox. But you're right on. There was a combination of opportunity because this space possibly needed a solution because the FAFSA form was difficult to fill out. It was cumbersome. And students, and the other thing that I learned on Reddit, besides, finding confidence and yourself in the forum, is that people struggled with this form. That's why Reddit, the threads there, like people, because like the boxes and fields themselves seem very simple. And I'll talk about an article that she wrote for the New York Times, but there are a few road bumps that could take you right out of getting the funding or maybe not getting the full funding. So
I got the
Javis,
quote.
Why don't you read the first part just before the 2000 a year? So Javis told the student newspaper.
Okay, Javis told the student newspaper, the Daily Pennsylvanian, that she appealed her financial aid package at Wharton and was frustrated when it took a semester to resolve. She also said in the Persistence 360 podcast that she considered moving to Canada, where college would cost just $2,000 a year. She said, money should not be a reason to hold you back from an education.
This is a good place to stop. There's another part of this that's important. And it just gives you a little bit of a background, and I think it's important to say. So she's really, to your point, right? She's saying a couple things. Like, how did that read to you? Like, did that give you a sense of, okay, this is why she started it? Maybe there's more motivated from the cause than the money.
Yeah, well, it surprised me that she was herself using financial aid.
Right.
And so she's indicating she has personal experience. Who knows if that's even true? But, I can see, the money's coming, but it doesn't come till like December, but you have rent to pay in September and October. And it could be really challenging in addition to trying to do school on top of all of that. So yeah, this is a huge problem.
Yeah. So she's identified a problem. Now your question about, did she need financial aid? I mean, I've told you that she came from what seems like a wealthy family. That one is murky. I don't really know. There's questions about whether she needed financial aid, whether her experience of trying to get financial aid for Wharton was part of this, but don't know. But that could be it. You can continue on with the quote there, Josh.
She told Steve Pomerantz, a radio host and investment advisor in 2019, that the reason she started Frank was because of her grandparents who escaped the Holocaust. Quote, the one thing they always taught me is education is one thing you can take with you. It's the biggest and greatest gift you can give to someone to pay it forward, she said. Wow.
Yeah, what do you think?
I mean, I hope it's something from her life that she's not making up, because that would be horrible if that's the case.
I don't think she's making that up. And I think that was true. And this is one of the challenges, right? We'll get into this, but did she always intend to do this, or did she genuinely have this feeling? Because there's a lot of comparisons between her and Elizabeth Holmes. And do a little promo for myself. I have a course, not on the podcast, on Theranos on Elizabeth Holmes. And Elizabeth Holmes was more thought to be later on as more of maybe a sociopath. Maybe someone who really didn't believe anything that she said and kind of just used everything she said to put herself and her company forward. And Charlie Javis doesn't seem like that. I think there is more of a sincerity. It doesn't mean, this is what happened was right, but there seems to be sincerity with her. Okay. So, yeah. So did this give you a picture of her?
Yeah. It maybe, being generous and on the onset at least, maybe she did get into this for the right reasons.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe she did, and she did become a media darling. She had the charisma, the looks, the entrepreneurship, and again, there's not a lot of female startup founders in this space, and she was really well liked by the media.
She knew how to tell a story. And, this isn't the sexiest business really, but
FAFSA? FAFSA that sexy?
You combine
Sexy
it with
FAFSA.
like this story, and it's like, oh yeah, students, they're having a hard time, tied into her family history. And then again, she's charismatic. And, a young female, it makes sense. She could generate some headlines.
And she did. And there's a lot of buzz about her and the company, Frank. And she wrote a New York Times article in 2017, in December 19, 2017. And obviously it's self-serving, but it was titled The 8 Most Confusing Things About FAFSA. FAFSA. And I read it because I was like, I couldn't even get into to sign in. And what else? So she had 8 things. All right. What do you think's number 1 on that? Like, looking at that form, what's like the 8 sort of most confusing things? What would you think is number 1, just off the top of your head?
No, she's talking about the paper form, I'm assuming. So I would say
could be either.
It could be either. Well, maybe just can't sign in. Can't even take the first step. Maybe she alluded to it. Even if you qualify, it could take months, and you need the money now.
Right. So that was a part of it. So that was number 6, down to the last cent. Because that's one of those is like you need the money, you're down to your last cent, and how long is this going to take? So that was number 6. Number 1 was who qualifies to apply. Like, do I actually qualify? And I'm right now, am I actually a candidate for this? It's not clear because there's other supplementary information. You're decided on college, but you're undecided on where. Apparently that's an issue because you might need more certainty about what college you're going to apply for. Otherwise, and these trigger basically a no from FAFSA. Counting heads. This is an issue. What do you think counting heads is? I was thinking counting crows, but that's a subtitle. Counting heads. What do you think that means?
I have no idea.
Well, I had to look at it, and I should just make sure, but counting heads, from what I remember, is who's in your household, right? Because it's really about the financial look at your household. Do you really need this? Counting heads is how many people are in your household. What's your household size? And that can be complicated. You're separated, divorced, there's kids, and that can cause challenges with the form. The next one is who is my primary parent? Who is actually the parent that you put on the form as the primary parent? Maybe that's for income. More money, more problems. So what is the financial picture of the house? And the more money possibly, is it part of the financial disclosure causes the FAFSA to get denied, or less money down to the last cent is yours? Got assets? Are there other assets that are part of this calculation? And the one called, she did a little play on words. She went A, B, C, D, E, F, C. And she really wanted the EFC. I don't think I did that very well, but she wanted the ABC to get to the EFC. And EFC is expected family contribution. Like, what's the family going to put into the scholarship? So when I read the article, she made a compelling case to use this. Like, now that I've said this to you, if you were a student, you saw FAFSA, would you pay for this?
Yeah, because it's not that I couldn't fill out the form, but would I trigger the full amount that I needed, or would I just, it's like you're doing stuff like this. You're a newcomer. No matter how good you are at this stuff, you don't know, if I put the wrong parent or the wrong head count or put in 3 colleges when I should have just told them 1 college, you might just be disqualified outright. And maybe you can appeal it, but that's going to take another, 60 days or whatever. And it's brutal. So yeah, if the fee was reasonable, I might just be like, yeah, let's just have an expert support me in filling this out.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's an extremely good pitch, right? Just like how it's landed for you. And she was also a good salesperson, right? So you have all these things together, and she had to get funding, right? Because now this is a startup company. She needs investment. And this is where, there's comparisons between herself and Elizabeth Holmes. She actually, I think, compares herself in some ways, because Elizabeth Holmes had a sort of a deep bench of named people, but Gervais had to sort of go on the streets and, obviously talk to very important venture capitalists, but she wasn't afraid to get her hands dirty to draw in investors. And what she said on Persistent 360, that same podcast that you quoted, rejection is just a numbers game. So somebody wasn't going to invest in Frank. She was going to keep going. So there's a persistence. Of course, you can see it in another way later on.
I'm inspired. I need to take a note from this, Charlie.
She's persistent. Rejection is just a numbers game. And she came off as very confident. And who did she come across as confident with a good business idea? To a bunch of venture capitalists. CEO of Apollo Global Management, big hedge fund, and others. And they started to invest. It's starting to invest like $5.5 million with a $10 million round. And the company's getting money. Charlie is a media celebrity. Things are going well. And when a company, like a startup company like this, is getting a lot of publicity, has a really strong sort of idea, people and organizations and other companies say, maybe we want to buy this company. And the question is, what is the value in Frank? So if you're, let's say, another company, you want to buy Frank, why would you buy Frank? What is the value of Frank to you as an acquisition?
Well, you're not just looking at this season, you're looking at potentially kids are not going to stop going to college and they're not going to stop needing loans. So you've got a lot of stability potentially if this company is profitable, that you can really chart out a future for a company. And yeah, maybe you don't want to run it if you're the founder, but someone else could run it and make profits for the foreseeable decades to come.
That's right. You're thinking FAFSA today. That's exactly right. There's this long trail of revenue. And there's something else as well. What is the age demographic of the customers at Frank?
Oh, like 18 to 22. Like
Yeah.
prime people who are like, don't know. They're a little bit careless. They're willing to throw their parents' money around if their parents have money. And they're probably not going to look that hard because they're busy with other stuff.
So Josh, who else might be interested? Like a young 18, 21-year-old customer list that you're right will probably fill up because you'll always have to fill out the FAFSA unless they change that process down the road. Who else might be interested in this customer list?
Well, you're looking at like credit card companies who really want, like they socked me in early, and that you get a college student into your card. Well, then you've got a customer for the rest of their life.
Bang on. Exactly. So banks, credit card companies. Yeah. Absolutely. They like the future revenue that you pointed out, but that young demographic, if you get them in through loans and maybe they get your mortgage, like I'm kind of old school like that. I'm still with the same bank basically that I was when I was 16 and worked at McDonald's. And so if you get these young people in early, you can maybe have them as customers for life. And then maybe if they find success, they're taking your mortgage or loan. So enter a very aggressive suitor of Frank, because Frank has this great concept, has media buzz, has Charlie Javis. Enter JP Morgan. What do you know about JP Morgan?
Oh, those guys are the worst. And they've been in the news lately. They've had some settlements.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken. Yeah.
These financial institutions like JP Morgan and others, I guess we're not going to have them as a sponsor anymore, but would we have JP Morgan as a sponsor? Probably not after this episode, but you're right. Sometimes, but what are they doing? They're aggressive. They're trying to grow their business. This is so there are a number of suitors for Frank. Frank has a number of suitors, and JP Morgan is the most aggressive. So around March of 2021, JP Morgan and others start talking to Charlie Javis, and she's kind of rebuffing, kind of like playing it cool. But JP Morgan just gets more and more sort of interested and kind of ups the ante. And they get into serious talks for JP Morgan to buy out Frank in August of 2021. Like so serious that it's probably going to happen. Now, JP Morgan has to do something because they need to make sure the numbers are there. They do a due diligence, and due diligence really is assessing a target purchase of one company by another. So JP Morgan's going to look at Frank. What would be the most important thing to verify or to check out for JP Morgan before putting an offer in on Frank?
Yeah, I guess, anything that's going to get them sued. Are there any leaky accounts, any suspect fraud, internal fraud, I would guess, or anything illicit going on that they might want to either stop or factor in when making the purchase, or just, I would say though, even if they discover fraud, if that's good for their business, that is maybe not in the negative column. Like that's
right. But what is good for their business? What is good for their business?
Yeah.
What is it that's good for JP Morgan's business if they buy Frank? We talked about this.
I mean, first of all, they're going to get so much information. These forms kids fill out.
It's the information.
Oh,
It's the information and the kids.
Yeah.
So you probably want to make sure they're real.
Oh.
You probably want to make
Yeah.
sure, because what did Frank say they had in terms of the number of users? 4.5 million users that have gone into Frank and filled out their forms and used their service.
Okay.
4.26 million unique customer accounts. That is what Charlie Javis told JP Morgan.
Yeah.
And so JP Morgan in early August of 2021 is like going to do due diligence. How would you want to check this? Like 4.25 million users. What would you want to do?
I mean, you could just look at the applications, verify the paper trail or the electronic paper trail.
You are an auditor at heart. You're a fellow CPA, which means you're more likely to commit fraud, apparently.
I don't have the persistence though. I would give up after I check 30. I'd be like, well, we looked in a bunch of drawers. It's fine.
You know where you should work?
JP
JP Morgan. You should work at JP Morgan then. Because
Maybe I could make
this
it
is
in
what
this
happens.
biz.
You could, because that's the obvious thing to check. The value of Frank is that the customers are real and exist. 4.25 million. That's the gold of Frank. And so they go and they say, hey, Charlie, what's going on? I got 4.25 million. Just want to make sure that's right. And so what does Charlie Javis do? This is what she does. This is based on testimony and other information. So her response when JP Morgan asked for a little bit more backup was to hire an unnamed data science professor just days before the JP Morgan was going to buy Frank. She paid the professor $18,000 to make up a customer list with synthetic data to protect Frank's real customer information. And so, your thing, if you would have checked a bunch of these accounts, you would have come up with some of these accounts don't have a real social security number, don't exist. But they were more like you at JP Morgan. They're like, we checked 10 of them. That's probably good enough to verify the 4.26 million.
So under the guise of protecting her clients, created fake.
No, those clients never existed.
Right.
So
yeah.
she didn't use it to protect the existing clients. She used it to build up an actual, a fictitious client base.
Right. Okay. So she wasn't pretending that this was something to protect her users. It was just
No.
Just
she
we
muddied the
paid
waters.
Some student in the data sciences department to drum up a bunch of fake.
Yeah, synthetic. So AI must have been involved here. And $18,000 is not great on this guy, because I'll tell you later on what Frank got sold for.
Oh.
So this guy should have been like $18,000. Come on now.
Yeah.
What is this for? And so, to your point, we're going to talk about opportunity. This JP Morgan, this is due diligence, but this is for anybody. Due diligence when you buy something. It doesn't have to be buying another company. It could be buying whatever you're buying. Mm-hmm. You just want to verify certain pieces of information, and generally it's not that hard when it comes to just consumer goods. And sometimes we just Charlie's a good person. She's awesome. Frank is in the media. This is a cool company. And so whatever the analyst it was at JP Morgan, we'll call him Josh.
Yeah, I like it.
Here's a list of 4.26 million customers. How many do I spot check?
Yeah.
Or sample? I don't know what that number was because that wasn't disclosed, but it did not, because there's only, so I told you, the real number was 300,000.
Okay.
That's the actual customers.
Oh.
The fake number, she increased the customers by 4 million people.
Okay. Yeah.
Go big or go home.
Go big or go home.
Yeah, and going back to her quote now we can make her quote look like something like, when Anakin Skywalker says something before he becomes Darth Vader, it's like, oh, that's a good quote. But after, like, oh, no. Rejection is just a numbers game. How do you feel about that quote now? Rejection is just a numbers game.
Yeah, I mean, she's got bluster, reminds me of Elizabeth Holmes. Maybe she was like, aspirational 4.26 million users. As soon as we get there, all have been truthful, But here's my question. Because when we started this episode, I assumed she was milking her users, the students, from money. But
No.
it seems to be pointing that she's actually just inflated the value of her company and she's milking
That's
JP
exactly
Morgan,
right.
which I'm like, I wouldn't do
So-
it. You know, there's a lot of risk there, but not as bad a crime.
This is where I wanted to shoehorn the Charlie Lucy, but I had to mix it up because ultimately JP Morgan is Charlie Brown. And Charlie is holding the football. You know, we zoink.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like JP Morgan didn't come and take that kick. We got this one. It's going, I'm kicking as far. You know how Charlie Brown goes, kicking that thing, and then Lucy just goes, whoop. But I have to change the names for that to work. But I don't know. I thought that's what I was thinking.
She probably had other suitors, right? Like you mentioned, JP Morgan was the most
Right.
aggressive. So she could probably be like, you want to dilly dally, take 3 years to do this, or you want to do this. And because we've got other people, she probably put some pressure on them. Classic fraud, like the clock is ticking. You want to check? I give you everything you need, but we've got other people waiting.
This is exactly it, right? This is on a grand scale here. She put pressure on JP Morgan not to do what they would normally do. Like basic, normal due diligence stuff, right? Here's another thing. So this is right on. Here's another thing that I think, this is my accounting brain, but it was pointed out. So the cost of acquiring an account, which was disclosed to JP Morgan, was $5. Okay? That's sort of the marketing administrative cost to get a new customer, $5 as a cost to Frank to get a student to use services. So that would mean, and you can do the back of the napkin calculation, $5 times 4.25 million is about $21 million in marketing costs. Now, whoever this person was that was doing the due diligence could have just done that ratio, because what they had as marketing costs were, I think, only $5 million. So that the numbers wouldn't have added up. So you wouldn't have to have looked at the customer list and say, if the 4.25 million, how many of these are real? If you just would have said, it's $5, you've disclosed this, you have 4.25 million, that's $21 million of costs. I don't see $25 million of costs here to get new customers.
Right. They could have done just a little, a side calculation and seen it doesn't add up.
Yeah. I mean, here's the story. I feel bad for JP Morgan. I mean, I hope you feel bad for them.
I wouldn't go that far.
They need our support, Josh. This is for JP Morgan. JP Morgan, if you want to be a sponsor of the show, Josh is not with you. Josh feels that you may have done some harm in past transgressions, and let's be honest, JP, you probably have. But in this instance, harm was done to you, and I feel for you if you're going to be a sponsor. If not, you got what you deserved.
Well, so they fell for it. I'm gathering.
Hook, line, and sinker, and exactly because of what you said. The other suitors, they were under pressure. They didn't do basic things.
Wow. I mean, good on her in some ways. But this company, she ran this company for, was it quite a few years she was running this company?
Yeah, I'd say 2017. I think that's around until 2021, where there was acquisition interest.
Okay. So she was kind of like doing okay, but mid-level, not quite as successful as maybe
not
she wanted to be.
4.25 billion.
Yeah.
Well, and this is what you asked some interesting questions. This is why the departure from Elizabeth Holmes is important. Elizabeth Holmes' company hurt people. Like, they give false positives, false negatives. You can look at that case. Charlie Javis did help people. The company did help people get the FAFSA loan. So her services were legit. She wasn't, as you pointed out, like stealing from the students, like for their fees. None of that was happening. You're right. She overinflated the value, and I'll get to the purchase price, which JP Morgan sued her for. And she hurt JP Morgan, especially not it's not a lot of money for JP Morgan, but their
reputation,
their ego,
was
their
hurt,
reputation.
too.
So how do you feel about Charlie now? Yes. More Charlie's Angels, or more Charlie Kaufman, more Charlie from the Chalk? What do you feel?
Yeah, who is she? I don't know if any of those fit anymore. She's not a superhero. She's not a loser. And she's not a young boy who just wanted to go on a tour of the chocolate factory. And so I don't know what Charlie fits her best. She's made her own iconic Charlie Javis.
She's made her own Charlie. That's important. And part of this too is people couldn't figure this out. So I looked so part of this is rationalization. You pointed out her parents. Like, what are some other things that you might think of? Because it's not easy to figure this out. Classmates were interviewed, coworkers, they're always going to say something like this or that, but nobody thought she would do this. Nobody. It was really quite shocking.
Maybe she's a gambling person. There's some scenario in my mind where JP Morgan doesn't sue her because it also causes them some embarrassment. And maybe it was going to come out because their company wouldn't be as profitable, to their shareholders and things like that.
Yeah, they did sue her.
They did sue her.
I mean,
but she didn't know they were going to sue her. Maybe she thought they would just eat the loss because they're so big anyway, and it would be embarrassing. And in a way, she was poised to be like, look at this brilliant entrepreneur who pulled one over these big guys.
Yeah, it's like that's one way to look at it. I mean, it was just hard because some of the comments from her friends was like, why did she do this? Like, this is so obvious that she would have been caught. She was smart enough. If she was going to commit this level of fraud, why didn't she just leave the country once she got the money? That somebody pointed that out. And somebody who investigated her said people like her said these sorts of criminals tend to be optimists. And guess what they used? To your point, Josh, you are on fire today. This is a quote from an FBI agent. These sort of criminals tend to be optimists who overestimate the chances of things getting better, like a gambler.
Oh,
like you said. This will pave over the problem. My data scientist at $18,000 will tell you about how much JP Morgan purchased it for. Nobody will find out, and things will get better. It's a gambling mentality. That's the closest to it. I like the parental aspect though. Let me show my parents that I'm doing all right.
You're forging your own identity, and you've got a name to live up to, or some comparison. And I mean, if it all goes through and it works out, that's a pretty big feather in her cap.
Charlie's your uncle.
Yeah.
So how about image 3, Josh? This is I think getting sentenced, going to court, Charlie Javis. So what's your impressions?
Okay, so she doesn't have that bright 19-year-old naivete, I would say. She's looking into the camera.
Been hardened.
She's been hardened by the criminal justice system, or the civil justice system, I suppose. And I don't know if she is. I can't see, but it's possible she's handcuffed in this image. Is this a perp walk?
That might be a perp walk. It is definitely in the time that she's in trial. So, Josh, there's a PDF from the Southern District of New York from the Department of Justice. You can read, there's an italicized part to it. So she was convicted of wire fraud, securities fraud, almost all the same charges as Elizabeth Holmes. And she was convicted in March, but then sentenced. And what you're looking at is the sentencing statement from the Department of Justice. There's an italicized part, which is a little bit bigger. You want to read that?
Yeah.
Piece?
Javis perpetrated a $175 million fraud, repeatedly lying about the success of her startup company and even hiring a data scientist to create fake data to back up her lies. For that, Javis has been sentenced to 85 months imprisonment and ordered to pay over $300 million, said attorney for the United States Amanda Huell. Today's sentence sends a clear message that brazen frauds will be met with serious penalties. Our office will continue to work tirelessly to hold accountable those who seek to profit through fraudulent schemes and lies. That's way more money than I expected.
Yeah.
$175 million.
By the way, she's trying to pay that off, and I'll tell you how in a second. This will be fun. This is fun. I think $175 million. That's how much JP Morgan paid for this thing.
Wow.
That had not that much value. Oh, JP Morgan, you are Lucy JP Morgan. We don't need to have them. Yeah, $175 million. There's the number.
Brutal.
And she's trying to appeal, but I believe she's in jail. So that's the sentence. So that's just September 29th, 2025.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. So she's been prosecuted, been sentenced. So Josh, in between March and the sentencing, okay? Mm-hmm. She's under house arrest. Okay? She's not on bail, house arrest. It's just I got to do stuff. I had a business. I was famous. Now I got, I'm house arrest. I got nothing to do, but I also may have a $300 million tab to the government. What would you do? You can't go anywhere. How you going to make some money?
What would she do? I don't know. You'd have to scale up something quick. This is the era where one person can run $1 billion company with AI. I would go into that. Something where no one can tell her no, because who's going to partner with her other than a robot?
You're thinking an AI, a new startup company. You are so wrong. I love this. Open up image 4B. Open up image 4B. It's a screenshot from X or Twitter.
She was my Pilates instructor last week. This is a
So that's not Charlie Javis in the picture. That's a student of Charlie Javis.
So wait, this is a picture of
A student,
a young woman
an
in a
online
yoga studio or Pilates studio. And is she saying that Charlie was her Pilates instructor last week?
That's what she's saying. Josh, open up image 4A. I thought this was amazing. And this is also like, she was angry about something. What does that headline read, by the way?
It says, disgraced Frank founder Charlie Javis argues her ankle monitor is ruining her blossoming Pilates career. What? She's teaching Pilates.
She's teaching Pilates, and don't hurt the Pilates career with an ankle bracelet. Because I don't know how. I guess an ankle bracelet really, you can't do a certain, one of those reformers. I'm not sure how Pilates work. I have done a Pilates. Have you done Pilates?
I haven't used the reformers, the machines. I'm glad she's doing something that has value to society in a positive way. This is great.
Yeah.
Maybe I wonder if this is the beginning of a Pilates empire. It seems like, why not?
Well, you've seen, I don't know if you ever had to fill out a Pilates form going to a studio.
There's a lot of salesmanship in these hardcore Pilates communities. Don't they call
my
you
gosh,
if you
the
miss a
form.
class?
They call you, but the waiver for injury. I mean, sometimes I'm like, I wish somebody would fill this form out for me. I wish I had a service. I want to take a class. I want to see if I can. I have thought about this. I'm like, can I take a Charlie Javis Pilates class online?
Yeah,
of course, 'cause you can't leave anywhere.
I'd be next time I'm in New York. Maybe I'm going to New York this summer. I'm going to look into it.
Yeah,
Sounds great.
I wonder if it's extra, to be doing Pilates with a convicted fraudster. So there we have it. That brings us to the end, and there's a lot to unpack here. But when we think about the fraud risk triangle, there's really the issues were J.P. Morgan, right? They faced pressure from Charlie. The opportunity was created by the fact that they didn't do their normal internal controls, like basic things. And then from Charlie Javis, it's hard to say what her rationalization is, but maybe her ultimate game was to start a Pilates business, and this is where she wants to be.
Well, she took an indirect path to find her calling in Pilates.
Very indirect.
What I'm curious about is, a lot of these cases, there's a small criminal activity like stealing from petty cash. And so for her, I'm guessing it was slightly inflating the numbers, and maybe that just ballooned every year, inflated a little more. You have to show growth, and then by the end it was like, well, she's already inflated these numbers. It is curious to me that she seems like selling the company was her own unraveling. Maybe there's a part of her that wanted to be caught. I don't know. That seems to be not
Yeah, because
that seems like a pattern too. Like if you're defrauding people and you're buying sports cars and you're supposed to be making an accountant's salary, this isn't that. But people seem to want to get caught on some level.
Yeah, because I think it was a big gamble that this data scientists, they wouldn't have noticed that this was synthetic list, right?
Yeah.
I mean, once you sent the list over, there were basically fake, 4 million fake names and 300,000 real names. If J.P. Morgan had done any logical due diligence, this would have been uncovered. So maybe there wasn't, reason to get caught. And what about that data scientist? 18,000. The company was bought for 175 million.
Yeah.
Egg on your face. And that data scientist, I don't know what happened to that data scientist because he knows he's doing something wrong, right? I think.
Well,
I'm sure.
I think she could have told him this was legit. This was to protect her customers.
Oh, that's what, because I did say that to you. That's how you saw it. Yeah, that's true.
Maybe that's how she sold it to him. And maybe that's how she sold it to herself even.
All right, we'll just pile on J.P. Morgan and leave the data scientists alone. JP Morgan, what are you doing? So Josh, that brings us to the end. I have one more thing to say before we close out our episode today, but how do you feel about this case? Where are you at emotionally?
I'm surprised I hadn't heard of this case because she's like Elizabeth Holmes, young and, photogenic. And it just seems like the type of thing that would get, a little bit of attention, but maybe not the scale of Elizabeth Holmes and not quite the villainy as well. So
it's Elizabeth Holmes.
And so she's
maybe the villainy wasn't there. Yeah.
It's just something very clear cut. Like, this is a person who doing okay and then just kind of got greedy and for whatever reason and got caught and is being used as an example.
I think why this hasn't been made into a Hulu Plus series with Amanda Seyfried is because of FAFSA. I think that name just like, you're in there, Soderbergh's in there.
What's it
Soderbergh's
about?
going to write the script. Soderbergh's is like, I can write this. They're like, wait, what's this? FAFSA? FAFSA? No, I'm out.
Yeah.
FAFSA?
Facebook.
I don't
I
like
can
it.
say Facebook. I can't say
Facebook. Aaron Sorkin's like, Facebook. No problem. I'll even make a sequel to the thing. But FAFSA, this is not Hollywood material. So I don't know. Maybe Netflix picks it up.
It's a little less tangible or something. Like, there's no prick of blood. There's no turtleneck.
Yeah.
There's
a romance in that thing too.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but I'm going to vouch for it. I think, especially since she's become a Pilates instructor, I think that is the way into this story. You start with her as a Pilates instructor, and then you work your way backwards into Frank. That's how I feel. So, Josh, we're going to come to a close. I did have some potential titles for this episode I want to run by you. Just to, just proof of concept. We'll see. So here we go. And you can also, a girl named Charlie Javis. That's a play on Charlie Brown, a boy named Charlie Brown.
Oh, yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. What else you got?
How about this? It's the great fraudkin Charlie Javis. It's the great fraud. It's like the great pumpkin Charlie Brown. I'm just maybe.
Oh, yeah.
No, you don't like it. I got more.
Okay. What else
Okay,
you got?
I got one. Charlie and the Fraud Factory.
Oh, yeah. There we go. It's brilliant.
Okay. I got one more. This one might be hard. Bean Charlie Javis. This one's a hard one.
It's a
where
little
that
bit
one's
of a
coming
reach.
from?
Being John Malkovich.
It's reach. That's where I was going. It's because we got the Kaufman side. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So I think we Charlie and the Fraud Factory.
Charlie and the Fraud Factory. That's a good. Yeah. No, I would watch that miniseries.
So Josh, thanks for this, and our listeners. We got to 500 listeners.
Yes.
Actually 4.5 million listeners, to be honest with you. Sorry.
Oh yeah, 4.5. Yeah.
4.5 million, not
Yeah.
500. So
We're
JP
learning
Morgan.
as we go. We're learning from the best.
JP Morgan, if you want to buy the Fraud Complex,
Sponsor. Hey, you want a
Sponsored by-
winning podcast? Just don't look under the hood too
Don't.
much.
I can find this data scientist. I guess I'm recording this. It probably doesn't help so much. We're still learning. But thanks for listening, everyone. And
Thank you for listening. Thanks to our show editor, Adam Galloway. Remember to subscribe and leave us a comment about a fraud case you'd like us to discuss, or email us at fraudcomplexpodcast@gmail.com with fraud cases on your mind.